All right, calling order July 24th EDC meeting.
Right, and first up we have roll call. Alicia Neth,
Here.
Adam Royds,
Here.
Steve Langley,
Here.
John Wallace,
Here.
Carol Noker, absent. Erica Winston.
Here.
Dan, gotcha. Dan Hartman
Here.
and Pat Luce.
Here.
All right.
Need to see if someone wants to make a motion to approve the May 22nd minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sounds good.
And then reports, Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Since our last meeting, our new members are Massey Holdings, Paradise Outfitters, and Go Home Port RV Service and Repairs. Our next event, big event, is going to be the Barbecue Bash on September 28th. I do have a few openings for judges for burger, chicken, and beans, if anybody's interested. Our next coffee is August 7th, sponsored by Farrell Insurance Agency. Our next lunch is August 14th, sponsored by Justin Huff, Casey Holmes Remax Revolution. We just scheduled a ribbon cutting today for August 22nd. It's going to be a ribbon cutting / grand opening for Go Home Port from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's all I got. So if you're going out of town, on the right-hand side, like right past Garrison Dental, it looks like big storage units, but it's right there. Yeah.
All right, I guess we can skip the school district report. Maybe Carol will get here before we're finished with that. For my report, I just have a couple Main Street updates. Last year was the last year for Lions Club to be hosting Hot Summer Nights, which is the concert series that takes place every Saturday night in the first 4 Saturday nights in August. So Smithville Main Street District is taking those over, and we have bands scheduled for all 4 of those nights. We do still need business sponsors for the last 3 nights, and we would love to have some volunteers to help as well. We also had a Shark Week scavenger hunt 2 weeks ago that was really fun. A lot of kids came down and participated in that. And then next week we'll have a Summer Olympics scavenger hunt, which will kind of be similar. We'll post the starting clue on our Facebook page, and then kids can come down and follow the clues. And at the end, they'll get a prize from the last stop. We also have community meetings taking place for Smithville Main Street District. Those are the 3rd Thursday of every month at Cornerstone Coffee at 5:15. Anyone really is welcome to those. And then Junkville taking place with Chamber Barbecue Bash. And I think that's all I have.
Can I jump in with some Main Street update for public art?
Yeah, go ahead.
So we are in touch with Elena, the POC from Missouri Co-op, and one of the first things she said is we need to get public feedback. So we decided on a theme. The theme is going to be lake life. So that's going to be it's going to tie into the tourism, draw into the lake, non-political, nonpartisan lake life, and then the artist's interpretation of what that means. So we're not going to tell them what to draw. We're just going to tell them that this is the theme and what we're looking for. So at the Hot Summer Nights, we're going to survey it. So we're going to do like a 1 through 5. How important is the lake? How important, how do you feel about lake life? Is the lake important to Smithville? Questions like that, scale of 1 to 5, and then we can take that feedback and see whether or not that's a good theme to move forward at, and then I'll reach out to Elena and start the next process. So that's where we're at right now.
Another night that might be good. I know Carol mentioned that school, it was going to be like at a game or something, and where people can have tents. I don't know if that's in August or September. We might want to reach out to her.
Yes, so I think that's at the school district's staff coordination type. It's like an open house for new staff. I think all staff goes, but it's at the high school gym. So yeah, that
Okay.
would be a good one too.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if there was something else because they did that 5K and I wasn't sure if they were doing any others.
Yeah,
But
there might be something
we
that I'm
can-
forgetting.
I'll reach out to her and just see if there's any other events
Yeah,
coming up soon.
sounds good. That's all I have.
For staff report, Eric and I have been working on scheduling a lunch and learn. Just focusing on safety, best practices for small businesses. And we would have Chief Lockridge, present at that. So once I hear back from him for his availability, we'll get it set up and we'll have it in the senior center this time. And then I started thinking about the next lunch and learn, and we've had our business retention visits. And something that comes up a lot, and obviously we've discussed it too, is marketing, and more help with marketing. So I was thinking maybe we could do a workshop for marketing. The library has a lot of resources that they can sit down with businesses. So maybe doing something like that. Sorry, I forgot to talk to you. It just happened today, so. So if you guys have any other ideas for future lunch and learns, be happy to make some different topics throughout the year for businesses.
We had a local person, she's a friend of mine that is a big marketing person. I forget what company, but she might come and
Mhm.
volunteer a bit, Nicole, because she helped Main Street with a lot of our marketing and
Did
she
you,
helped
did
with
she help with
our
the branding too?
logo rollout.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be great.
So
to have
she would
someone like that.
be awesome to ask.
Okay, yeah, if you could send me her
Mhm.
information, that would be great. And then just wanted to give budget updates. We've been in development of the FY25 budget, which starts November 1. The board will start reviewing drafts in August. And I wanted to let you know, in the draft budget, we've included a marketing budget of 3,000. Currently, we haven't had anything, so it's at least a start, and if we need more the following year, then we can always increase it. The continuation of the MOU with the chamber, so that's a lot of the events that we've been doing with lunch and learns, community calendar, communication in general, in their newsletter and various things that Erica helps us out with. And then we've obviously went through Replica. I've showed you the visitor data, but it really hasn't been getting us what we needed. And Clay County, all the cities that are in this MOU with them aren't interested in renewing the 2-year agreement. So I've had meetings with Placer AI. It's a little bit more granular and you can really focus in on like a specific business of what visitors are getting. Because a little bit with Replica, the categories were too broad for us to really do anything with them, especially since they lumped gas stations with shopping in general. So it's just a little not what exactly I wanted. So that is for consideration in the budget, is to increase our economic data software package. So then we can get something a little bit more useful, especially for this group to look at. Yep.
Okay, Gina, just a clarification. So about 7,000 is what we figure. will
So
be
it's a
presented.
total of 12,000 annually for Placer. So it'd be increasing our $5,000 budget by 7 to get to that number.
That's good. I'm glad you've been able to meet with him. And do you feel like the conversations you've had so far, and I'm assuming they've showed you some demos, that
Yes.
it'll provide some substantially more data
Mhm.
than we got?
Yeah, and we can
Yes.
like geofence specific locations like Smithville Lake, the courtyard, specifically like the Main Street district. We can look at different business districts to help some of the Chamber of Commerce members to look at those kind of data points. So I think it's gonna be a lot more useful for especially this group too, to look at visitor patterns and like the trips, like what it's the distance, and help with marketing in that way too. So it's gonna be a lot more, I think, what we expected originally, so, and it'll help with traffic patterns and things like that as well for road planning and things, yeah. So, excited about that, and then just some upcoming dates, reminder, we have the joint work session with the Board of Aldermen on August 6th at 5:30 in this room. And that's one of the agenda topics we'll talk about in a minute for planning for that. I sent out an email for a when available survey to do a meeting with planning and zoning for the South 169 Employment Overlay District. So this will be with our consultant, Snyder and Associates, and they will be running that meeting. It will be completely virtual, but it will be 2 hours. We're looking at sometime later in August or early September. So if you have not responded to that when available survey, it closes today. So I will send that final date out to everyone once we figure out everyone's availability.
You don't want to shame anyone in specific for not replying to the survey yet. I'm teasing. I don't know who it was either. I was just being fun.
I haven't replied because I saw it and I thought it was the Board of Aldermen.
Oh,
No, so it's specifically for EDC and planning and
I
zoning.
got that. I was just confused.
Yeah, yeah. So if you just go on there and you can just select the date that you're available for. I think there's one that had 14 responses, but we'll just get the date that works for most people.
When did you send that out?
I sent it out
early last week?
early last week. I can resend it after this meeting.
Should be able to find it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That survey
And
was nice.
she'll walk through, you know, what the point of the project is and kind of the scope that you guys will be looking at. And she's gonna try to keep it a little entertaining so it doesn't get too dry, so virtual meetings are hard sometimes, so. And then at our next EDC meeting, Matt Pizzold with MU Extension will be coming here to talk about workforce development. So that'll be, August will be a busy month for EDC. Had a little bit of a break.
What's that date for August?
August 28th.
Hey,
Yes, and something I started trying to do in this staff report is linking the topics back to the comprehensive and strategic plan. So then you guys can start to see more of the connections. Don't have to look in both places. So I figured that would be easier for future updates to the board.
Good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is all I have for, actually I have one more thing. I do have a meeting that I'm trying to get scheduled with Rob Scarborough to go over the Airbnb data. And just talk to him more about what the EDC is envisioning for that, just to get more information about people's stays, and then talked with Main Street to maybe get some welcome backs and the Airbnbs and include the Visit Smithville brochure in there. So we're working on trying to get that in more places. And then I have a meeting on Friday with Location One to go over that site page where like everything is on that one website for available sale of land and then current buildings. So,
Is that like the one in Clinton or different?
yeah, I think it was that one,
One
or
that
it was
in Clinton?
Kearney, Clinton, Missouri. I can't remember which website had it. But basically the Missouri Department of Economic Development, they pay for all of the cities to access it.
Oh, nice.
So I found that out when I contacted Location One. So I have a meeting,
That's great.
hopefully figure out more of how we can get that online. So,
Awesome.
I have a question. I don't know
yes.
if it's for Gina or Alicia, the replacement for Sonia.
So we have one applicant, so far that we would need to set up an interview with. He would like to learn more, a little bit more about what EDC does and visit some meetings. So with timing, he might not actually be able to start until October, which this vacancy expires October 24. So I'll talk to him about that. And then he can always watch the meetings to learn a little bit more about it.
Application's closed now? Or
They're open. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, and that's all I have for staff report. I think everything else we'll talk about in the discussion items. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm sure you guys are aware we have a city logo. And as part of a employee engagement initiative, with our wellness program, I'm ordering water bottles for the employees. And with our current logo, which is this one, we've talked about, and this kind of came up with marketing in general of maybe doing an update to the city logo. So I worked with TW Print to look at some water bottle ideas. And we came up with this logo design. So it's very similar to, ooh, there's too many things. Okay. Everything's new now. Okay. So we came up with some options of I wanted to keep, you know, the feel of the old logo because there was a lot of work that went into the branding initiative. So we thought that this was more of a simple version of the logo. We did go with the one with the City of the Smithville on top, and then we could put, you know, Parks and Rec on the bottom, development on the bottom for branding on shirts. But I just wanted to get your feedback on these because I'll work with TW Print to get more draft designs to send to the Board of Aldermen for review. But I just wanted to see what you guys thought. And then we would also stick with the brand colors that were in the guide for like the deep sky blue. And then have a white one, and we can always do different colors, but we definitely wanted to at least have some options. Yes.
Yeah, I can see
Thank
that. You
you.
just blow it up.
Oh, yeah. There we go. So basically they just took this and then just blocked it out with one color. Cause it looks a little funky when there's just white on the bottom with nothing else around it. And even when I send it to, like, say Smithville's getting featured in something and they want our city logo, they always ask me, do you have a square one or do you have a round one? And I have to tell them we have a rectangle, so this is what we have to work with. So it's just basically kind of a facelift and just keeping it a little bit more simple, but open to any feedback. If you guys really like the logo, we don't have to get a new one. It's just something that has come up in various times in other places.
How long has this been the city's logo?
We got this done in 2016. And then we updated it in 21 to take off the thriving head.
Has the circle always been off to the left a little bit inside the green square?
Yeah, this is the,
Is, I wasn't here for the, is it supposed to represent a river?
it's supposed to represent the feel of water. Everything was like
The lake being a focus.
the lake, the focus, and then kind of being an S for
Yeah,
Smithville.
the S kind of gets drowned out,
Mhm.
but the other, in the newer one, it's more pronounced. But
Right.
what are the colors gonna be on the new one? Like, see how it's blank in there, like it's just white? What do you
Yeah,
all
so we
think?
were thinking it would just be basically blank in here and then whatever color, it would be like one color.
For the water bottle specifically.
Yeah,
Or-
for the water
yeah.
bottle specifically. This was just something, it's just more of an employee like internal thing, but it's sort of just getting to think about, oh, what if we updated our logo a little bit more? Or if there's something that you like in the current logo that maybe this is too simplistic, that's up to you guys. And I can always ask for different versions to bring back at the August meeting too.
I'll be honest, I don't have an opinion either way. I think that I don't dislike the old one. I mean,
Mhm.
and I've never looked at it and thought, well, that's a really awesome logo. It's just kind of like, well, that's a city logo. Usually they're not super flashy and it kind of represents the city and gets to the point. So I think.
And even
it's-
if we still had this one as the main one, but just a little bit like on our Facebook page, profile pictures or
a less
circles
formal
now.
Or something.
Yeah, it just had maybe an option, another option of a logo.
Personally, I like the look of the new logo. It's probably gonna be slightly more expensive, but I would suggest incorporating the green with the blue.
Mhm.
You have the original blue, and to me, definitely lettering for the city should go on top.
Yes, yeah. And what I can do is I can always bring back more options at the next one. I just wanted to kind of get an initial feedback from you guys. If this is something that you think would be worth doing.
I think this works better for letterheads, the current one,
Yeah.
but for other objects, that something the shape of that square is better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll bring some other options back, but I think just having maybe like a social media logo or, you
Mhm.
know, just another option.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Any other feelings? Mm-hmm. And usually with branding and like Main Street just went through their branding, you have a family that you can
Right.
choose from, so you have a little bit more options depending on the design. So it doesn't mean that this logo has to go completely away.
Right.
And it does look good on letterhead. You're right. Oh, all right. Well, I will bring some items back next time for you guys to look at, some different options. All right. And then the next discussion item is just preparation for the Board of Aldermen work session. In the staff report, I included information about the goals that we've kind of discussed of networking, building relationships in Northland, partner with organizations when applicable, marketing, create marketing campaign and strategy for tourism and development. And then also look at the potential of a marketing personnel in the future. And then review opportunities to leverage off Smithville Lake for economic development, and then explore the Airbnb visitor data. So for each of those, I put the goal that it was supporting, and then I figured I would just print this again for you guys to look at. And so it's really up to you what you want the work session to be like. I figured we would set up some tables, so it would kind of be more of a working work session. I don't know if you want to have like a spokesperson that provides them an update that you guys have worked, what you've accomplished so far. And highlight, maybe do a presentation. It's totally up to you and what you guys want to ask the board for feedback, or present to them.
Question on that. So the Board of Aldermen had call it planning session in June.
Mhm.
Is that correct? Okay. Was there anything that came out of that planning session from the aldermen that would provide direction or insight for EDC? And part of that, what's question behind that is, what's the driver behind the August 6th meeting? Is it the alderman providing direction for us providing input? And I mean, besides what we see on the piece of paper here, is there anything we need to be prepared to be thinking about? So kind of a
I'm trying to
multi-layered
think from
question
the
there.
board retreat. I mean, some of the things that were talked about was actually having a marketing budget. Since right now, all we have is Parks and Rec marketing budget. So actually having funds available. And then we talked about the economic data, increasing that to get something different. And then really for the planning session, and Dan, feel free to jump in on this, but I think it would be helpful for you guys to present on what you've kind of worked towards. Obviously, we talked about murals, and now that's landed with Main Street, but that's something the EDC has talked about. We got the visitor brochures to send to campers, started doing lunch and learns. And then what you guys have been talking about for focusing on this year. So just getting feedback and then maybe asking, is there anything else specifically the board would like you guys to be working on?
I mean, one thing I think we could talk about is, we talked about like, there's limits to what we can do with tourism, and unless like the city is willing to maybe invest in a person, like a person who can go out and get those hotels, right? Someone that every day, that's all they're doing, versus us as volunteers. That might be something we could bring up, like you just said, like now, first time ever, 3,000 marketing budget. You know, if that seems to be worthy investment, it's also sometimes you got to invest money to make money. So maybe the whole drawing in tourism and hotels, we can talk to them about. the possibility of maybe the city starts to think of hiring someone that does marketing in tourism. Like,
Yeah,
that's it. So,
And we have talked about, and it got brought up at the board retreat. We have an internal list of staff needs and we have a communications marketing person on that list. So it's definitely a need that we see as staff of kind of consolidating communication a little bit more and having someone focus on marketing the city full time. Yeah. Mhm. Tourism. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so Steve, I know this is a question that's come up not only from you, but other members of the EDC for some time. And I think we've done our best to try to say, look, we know that before we can even talk to companies, we've got to have ground ready to go, right? There's got to be water, sewer, kind of what's happening right now, really I mean, the last time this happened was the Smithville Marketplace, right? They got the ground ready and businesses came. What's happening at Fairview North, what's happening at Fairview South. John, I know you have a lot of experience in this, but most companies are going to come look at us unless we have some kind of infrastructure in place, right? And so then even after the infrastructure is in place, most of these companies have representatives that are paid to go out and look at population, look at traffic counts. And I think before we can get there, we kind of are, my opinion, doing it in the sense of we're now getting on the budget, right? As far as marketing and placer and some of the other things. And I talked to that at the board retreat. I said, it's very important to my fellow aldermen that we've got to have some funding for this because we've got to kind of measure what's going on. I think they're looking to us to just say, look, the board obviously will pass the budget and do the direction. But I think that, again, it has to do with the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, some of the goals we've talked about. And I know sometimes we're wired in such a way we want something concrete to go out and go, right? And preach about Smithville, talk about Smithville and the benefits of not only doing business here, but we've got to kind of walk before we run. And I welcome any of the rest of the EDC board to kind of talk about that. But how do we get there? And I think we're slowly getting there. I think it's having guest speakers. I think it's recognizing opportunity, but that opportunity has to be, I hate keep using the word over and over again, shovel ready, but the land has to be ready. And there's just a lot of things that must happen from a planning and zoning to a board of aldermen, and we're getting there. I don't know, I'm searching maybe here a little bit, but.
So what you're saying is that access or availability of shovel-ready ground is limited.
I think it's been limited because just in the past 3 to 5 years, we've had a lot of ground that's been agriculture is now turning.
Right.
And I mean, you can you can see that daily driving into Smithville, what's happening in Fairview South of the central bank.
Right.
You know, all of that has to go in first, right? Kind of what's happened up around the post office. You know, the developers development there. But it also rests on the city to make sure that we have the infrastructure available. And we've been working. I wish government moved at the speed of business. I really do. I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't. And I'm speaking of municipality government. But I think those things have to be in place and have to be talked about. And it's not just rooftops. It's a combination of things. But if we sat here and do nothing but talk about it, then I get it. We're never going to get there. But I think we're making some progress. And so the board is going to listen to us to say, what would you like to see? And I think Gina's kind of highlighted that. I don't know if I've confused anybody anymore, but if that makes sense. I mean,
I can think of two pieces of ground. The one where Price Chopper is on the north side, that empty lot. I mean, I assume that piece of ground's ready to do something with,
It is.
and I don't know if, what the opportunities are. The other one is where the cannabis facility is. There's some ground there. It's obviously ready for something. are there any other pieces of ground like those two that are ready, or is that it?
There's commercial property, 2 pads available if you go right out here and turn left and go up the hill on your left-hand side. I see commercial ready pads all over the city. It's just a question, to me, I'm excited to meet with them just to find out where we all kind of see the city going, what direction. We have an automobile dealership currently looking for additional land. They would like to expand. Where would be a good place for them to go? We have, I believe that there's potential businesses that would be willing to come to the city if we could present them and say, this section would be available for you. And these people and here are the plans. These are our 2-year, 5-year, 10-year goals. And that's what attracts businesses. And make no mistake about it, all it takes is one catalyst can turn the entire city around. Everybody knows what a super Walmart can do in a particular location. Everybody sprouts up around them. I'm not advocating that by any stretch, but a business like that can have that same impact very easily.
Kind of on, if we're headed down where we're headed, you two are going, that location data you said can pull real estate, right? So wouldn't it maybe make sense to separate, like, if we're gonna do that on the website, pull residential,
Mhm.
right? And put that under the resident drop down, and then the business drop down, put your shovel readies.
Yeah.
That would probably be a good spot to put all the pads that are ready to go, not the open agricultural stuff, but ones that are ready to go. So maybe that's something we should tie in if we're gonna do the tie-in with the real estate. Think about separating those two, separating the residentials that are ready to go and the real estate that's ready to go.
I think what I've seen from places that use it, you can separate it with different categories. And I can talk to them about that on Friday.
The best way to think about it is when we have new shiny things like the airport. Let me back up. So when we lived down in Denver and Stapleton was closing down and DIA was 20 miles from, and there was nothing. And people are like, this is crazy. It's never going to, if you visited Denver lately, I know, Pat, you go out there. Wow, it is developed and fully functional and they have light rail and everything else. And that's exactly what's happening with MCI. Now, granted, we're 18 minutes from NCI, but you're going to see things pop up over the next few years. In the Northland and not just here, I believe that we're ripe for opportunity and it may be a few more years, but we're going to start seeing those. We've got to be ready for it. And that includes 152 corridor, 435 corridor north. It's just not rooftops. It's commercial development. I mean, what's happening around the soccer complex, the Central Bank soccer complex, and what's happened, Menards was built there and I was like, what else is going to go there? And suddenly there's a Quick Trip and I think a Starbucks and on and on and on and on. So I think John's right. It's going to take one catalyst and when it breaks open. So it is frustrating. I get it. We want to move at business speed, but unfortunately in a municipality, government or city, we don't always move at business speed.
I think looking at goal number 2, the airport redevelopment, I think that makes the most sense if we were going to focus on one of these things as a whole. We haven't started it at all. It's the second goal on the list. I know at one point Main Street had looked at doing some advertising at the airport and was not anything anywhere within what our budget could be. But if it were to come from, the city somehow as a whole, I know everybody has a budget, but with it being a huge redevelopment, with it being with the World Cup coming in 2 years, I think now would be a really good time to just that's going to be a good way to get Smithville on the map and get probably the most eyes on some sort of advertisement or something for us.
So you're thinking using some of that marketing out by the airport.
Possibly. Yeah.
So there's
Like a baggage claim kiosk, rotation, or you're standing there waiting on your rental car, or it's on the scrolly LED thing inside of a rental car, the parking spot truck, even something like that.
And I think we also have to understand macroeconomics affects growth. And right now with interest rates the way they are, we're just not going to see floods of businesses coming in. But I think if we keep steady doing what we're doing and set up the framework and scaffolding now, hopefully when they start to lower interest rates and starts to generate more of that business growth, we'll start to see some more of that movement. Instead of like putting it all on us, like we can only do so much, there is macroeconomic factors that are involved as well. And I think if we just keep doing what we're doing, eventually, once it gets back into a growth type environment, we might start to see the things that we've been waiting for a while. So.
Well, and the advertising at the airport, it doesn't even have to be super, not, I don't want to say not specific, but it doesn't have to just be targeted at shoppers or just at people.
Planting seeds.
Yeah, developers, travelers, all of that stuff. It would get in front of a lot of eyes.
I think the other thing is we're moving towards, I was speaking to the co-owner of the White Iron Ridge, and she shared a statistic with me. The average wedding in the United States is $70,000, and I don't know any of their specifics. It's not any of my business. But if we begin to really look specifically of the impact that they bring into the city by staying at Airbnbs, meeting with Rob, starting to use this placer data, I think we can maybe start establishing a baseline of what in the world's coming into Smithville. Every weekend we have, I believe, somewhere around 10, 12, maybe 14 Airbnbs, and Rob will be able to specifically tell you that those folks that come in, and I can speak to my one, is that we don't know exactly every week. Rob kind of has an idea, but I don't know as a property owner, but certainly we see it, summer construction during the week, visitors, and we know or suspect that they're buying from Price Chopper or Dollar General, right? Because sometimes they'll bring things in, but they're going to go. We suspect they're going to our restaurants or coffee shop or whatever. And so any way to measure that is a win for our community, because that's sales tax, that's awareness. So anyway, I just think that that's another piece just that we should really focus on. If we can get the Board of Aldermen to allow and to vote for that placer data, I think we're going to begin to see some things that we didn't see before. That's really going to help us kind of establish some confidence of where we need to go.
And we have to remember, we've got some new things coming in downtown, which are going to hopefully draw some people from outside of 64089.
Absolutely.
I was just at Grassroots for the first time this weekend, and wow, it's really wonderful. And I asked the question, do you have many people from outside the area? And the answer was yes. People come in from Prairie Village and Johnson County, and that's quite of a drive for them. But like we talked last time, one of Kearney's marketing things is they're close to Smithville Lake, and we know we're closer. They're close to the airport, and we don't let people really know how close we are to the airport. So as they're coming in for the weddings or on business or such things, we need to let them know. And in 2 years with the soccer tournament coming on, wow, that's a great thing we need to promote. You're coming in for this, you've got tickets. Guess what? In less than 20 minutes, you can be at your Airbnb or wherever you're staying, or if you want to camp in Smithville, we are that close. It's a huge opportunity for us that we've missed.
With the influx of people for that soccer tournament, there will be guaranteed to be people staying here for it. It's going to be so busy.
I just thought it'd be great to get Kathy Nelson. I know we're probably out of our league, but to speak to us as an EDC and as a board, they've from an economic impact, it's been described as 3 Super Bowls. Take the Super Bowl week and multiply that by 3 times that.
They're expecting 6 million people to come in. That's a lot. And I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing a big influx of construction and hotels and things that anticipate being full during that week.
And the people coming in town for it are likely have a decent amount of money if they're traveling that far for soccer. So that's another good reason to get in front of investors' eyeballs for things at the airport.
Yeah,
You
and
probably can't get a new hotel here by then.
I would help build it if we could.
Well, I mean, I think these are all the things that like at the work session, like this type of stuff is what we're gonna be doing at the work session, I think. So.
and just going off of that, like we talked about some of those goals and creating resources like a development packet for marketing, a tourism packet for marketing. So those are the kinds of things that you guys can start to work on to give to the board for approval, like you guys did for the economic incentives policy. It could be similar things like you guys are submitting it to the board to see if this is something that they would like on the website. Is this what they're envisioning? So it would be more of like a working item to do. And that also feeds in to the website discussion. We are going out to bid in the winter at some point for a website redesign and management. It will be a request for qualifications. So it will, our current provider might submit a proposal or we might get another one that we like a little bit better. It just depends on who submits. And so I think this development of all these materials would be a really good timing with the website redesign. Because I don't want to push all of this information out there and then it not be exactly what we're looking for. It's not, you know, I'm just using Carney's example, like they have a header on all of their pages and it looks really professional. So I'd like us to have something that looks really professional when we roll out the new website. Our current website's a little harder for me to make it flashy, so. And so part of the things that we can work on for materials is demographics, major employers, traffic counts, proximity, or current taxes and fees, utility information, access, and then messaging about Smithville in general. I think that's the biggest thing that maybe the EDC should start thinking about is why Smithville? Why should I come visit? Why should I develop here? And then that can be part of those packeted materials. So then if you meet with somebody, you can say, here's this, and it has everything. We kind of talked about the one-stop shop on the website. Here's all the information you need to know. Here's the contact of who to contact at the city. And just make it way easier instead of trying to dig around in various places for information. So.
Gina, thought about all the information that we're giving on there. So we're looking at the south overlay and an
Mhm.
industrial area. Do we need to look at data of the workforce at 15, 25, 50 miles an hour that's trained in that area? The workforce that's in manufacturing, the workforce that's in construction. So we know, that Kansas City is a big animal bioscience category. Do we have people within that radius here if some company wanted to move here that are already trained? I mean, is that something, John, that from your experience that they look at? What's the workforce going to look like in the area?
The answer is yes. All businesses look at all demographics from traffic counts to median income to cost of living. If they're going to open a business, yeah, and definitely workforce, no doubt about it.
Yes, and then as part of the South overlay, we did add an additional item to the scope to do an economic review of Smithville, to see what we're missing, look at workforce data. So I think that's gonna help us with a baseline of information too. But yeah, definitely workforce data is important for bringing people here. And luckily we have some projects coming online soon, but having more mixed housing options is a big thing for affordability for people to live here and work here.
On that note, is anybody able to comment on what is actually going in around or behind the power lines?
The power line.
Are you talking south of South of Central Bank.
Yes.
Sure. So the infrastructure, and then correct me if I'm wrong, Gina, I believe planning and zoning's getting ready to hear about is it townhomes or? I
It'll
don't
be
know.
mixed of, I think it's townhomes, multifamily, and then residential, single
Right,
family
right.
homes.
But
Yeah.
the overall plat, John, is multitude of things.
Yeah.
It's multi-use, but the first thing coming in on that south side is living, I mean,
Mhm.
concepts, yeah. And it's, I mean, they're committed. I believe they've signed a contract with the developer, but they're working through the planning and zoning.
Planning and
process
zoning
now.
process for, yeah, utility review and all that.
Is that type of housing gonna be more on the east side and there's gonna be more retail, restaurant, hotel / on the front, on the west side? Or is it gonna be mixed?
Well, so on the south, Fairview South, 53 acres, is going to be, I mean, there's going to be a multitude of things. They're just trying to get the underground in now, per se.
Right.
To preparation, which includes retention pond, and will eventually, you'll see road all the way through from pretty much Central Bank to 144th Street.
Do you mean what's gonna be like the 169
Yeah, what's gonna be
frontage?
facing
versus what's further-
169 versus back?
Well, I do know, if it isn't easy to find, there's a plat that was approved,
Mhm.
and that's just a plat. It's not saying that this is a hotel, this is
Yeah.
a restaurant. So yeah, I mean, Steve, I think I've got a copy at the office. I can send you one. I mean, it's just what it looks like.
I think
Mhm.
it would just make more sense. I would guess that it's all of the business stuff would be facing and closer to 169 and the residential would be
Mhm.
further away from
Yeah,
it.
and all of those site plans will go through planning and zoning. So once we
Yeah.
get more updates, I can share those with you all. So for the work session, do you want to have like one speaker, or do you all want to talk? Do you want to do a presentation? Just want to make sure you guys are feel prepared for the work session, because really the board is viewing it as the EDC would like to meet with the board to get feedback on what they're doing. And then I know some of you guys have asked about role clarification, so that's a perfect opportunity to ask the board. But it's really up to you guys of what you want to do.
Which hat will you be wearing that night, Dan?
Well, I'll be wearing my Board of Alderman hat, but I'll certainly be willing to support anything that you come through with EDC. So, as a board, Economic Development Committee, I should say. So, again, I think 2 or 3 things. The beautiful thing about a work session for us, Steve, is that we can have open dialogue. It's the time to ask questions. It's the time to talk about things. I would just echo Gina's comments that we have 2 or 3 things. And then I think also whoever, whether it be our chairperson or somebody that the EDC wants to speak on, just that they ask the thoughts after the presentation, kind of what each Board of Aldermen would like to see. I mean, that's, and I think you'll hear varying opinions, but all opinions are good.
I'm fine with being the primary speaker. I don't know that I have the capacity to make any type of presentation. So if anyone else would want to work on that, I could be the speaker, or if we just want to have some bullet points in mind, I'm fine with that too. Or if someone else wants to speak, that's great, but I'm fine with doing it.
And I can kind of help with outlining some talking points of what we've accomplished so far, and then really just looking at this we have a lot of takeaways that you can point to: comprehensive plan, strategic plan, and then some of those larger goals of longer term also that you guys want us.
So what I've heard is utilizing some of these, if it was approved in the budget, the marketing dollars for the airport. I've also heard kind of an identification of those projects that are ready to go or in process or ready to go. Obviously, including the traffic counts, utility information, why Smithville, the cost of living, workforce. Obviously, we're going to have our workforce development presentation at the end of August, but I'm just kind of trying to summarize what I'm hearing. Keep the flow going.
Sure.
I think it's all right to have 2 or 3 things. I think you start having 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things.
Right.
I think then it's kind of like you have paralysis of, gosh, I can't accomplish any of them, so let's not do none of them. But
I think a top 2, maybe 3 topics would be good. So. Okay, so
I think, Pat, you mentioned what at least I'm hearing is more marketing, right? I mean, specifically how do we can reach these individuals and do a better job of we're closer than Kearney is to the lake. We're closer to Kearney than this to the airport. I think that's important as well to somehow communicate.
And I think it's important to communicate that to allocate a staff person, or if it's a new person that's going to do all of this marketing, as well as who's going to reach out to these potential developers and follow up with the questions they might have. Who's going to take over that spot?
okay. So our number 1 would be airport advertising or
I think you could do marketing.
Marketing in general.
And
Okay,
then
and then
highlight
kind
the
of hone in
different
on that.
items underneath it.
If you want to put it in the language of government, you could be like, how do we leverage our marketing and advertising to promote the lake, in regards to tourism and commercial properties and residential? Because I think that's where we're all getting at is it's Smithville Lake, but like it doesn't feel like we own the lake. Like it feels like everybody should know that that's like the lake that this town is right next to, but you got Kearney and everybody else promoting the lake while we're kind of, up here and some people don't even know that this community exists in the Northland. So
Mhm.
it definitely seems to be a running theme. So we should definitely do that in terms
Okay.
of bringing that
Yeah,
up.
in addition to that, you look at goal 1, 2, and 4. I think those are all interrelated.
Mm.
Technology, bioscience companies, airport redevelopment, and industrial zones are primarily all business related.
So I guess my question is, how do we want to put that into words when we have our discussion with the board? Like, we're asking them to give us tools to gain those things? Do we want them to give us direction on what they think we should be doing to gain those things?
Alicia, I just feel that we should have a common vision, that the Board of Aldermen who governs the city has a vision for what they would like the city to look like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Since they in fact govern the city, that vision should be incorporated by us.
Okay,
I don't think it's our place to enforce what we believe the city should look like,
right.
because we don't govern the city. We're simply just advisors.
Advisory board. Yes, okay.
So your question behind that, John, is we're not sure what the common vision is, or that's what we would like to hear from
I
the
would,
alderman?
yeah, I would ask the Board of Aldermen and the mayor to share what their vision of the city is. What do they see? Downtown, south end, even the north end, any future development, any more residential. I believe that what I've heard and what I believe may not be what the actual vision of the city is.
Okay, well, I think, do you feel like we have enough if we sit down and, okay. I think we're good then.
How long do we have for this meeting? Workshop?
There are 3 topics.
I heard it could go to midnight.
No.
Bonafide
Not
night.
work session. You guys do the first item at 5:30. Let me pull up the planning calendar real quick.
Yeah, we'll have a work session first.
Uh-huh.
session, so, yes.
So less than an hour and a half for sure.
Yeah, I would say like
So
30
30
minutes to
minutes.
45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Usually, planning and zoning usually follows.
Usually Tuesday, yeah.
Or you're right.
There are
It's
two-
usually before.
I think it's the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Okay, on August 6th, you guys are first, and then we have discussion of the water and wastewater fund and then schedule of fees. So I'd probably plan on 30 minutes.
Okay.
30 to 45. Yep.
Got it. I'll set a timer.
I think it all goes together anyway. Like once we have an
Once we get
idea
the
of the
flow.
common vision, then that'll help us
15 is
develop.
not bad. Where I'm at, if you're in front of a bunch of like executives, they tell you get like 7 minutes.
Mhm.
It's gotta be high level, no more than 5 to 6 slides.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I just went back, sorry. Just to, again, I just try to spark some thoughts here. I went back to our border retreat notes, which was included in the July session, but remember the Smithfield builds its future by embracing growth, encouraging commerce, and enhancing its natural surroundings. So right there, I think encouraging commerce is a big part of what we're talking about, right? Just trying to think, infrastructure, governance, finance. So really just think about that. That's kind of our vision statement. Gina, I can't remember, did we change or slightly change that vision statement?
Yes.
Do you have it?
Let me pull up this minutes.
I'm looking for it as well.
I don't remember when we adopt. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So this is the new vision statement of the board. And then I can send a link to this document
Yeah.
as well.
I actually did read it right. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So that is the updated one. And then again, there's key performance area of growth. We nurture our community by attracting and maintaining diverse development. Infrastructure, we plan, build, maintain the necessary road, utilities, and strategic land use to prepare for residential and economic growth. So that could even be some of the things you guys talk about if this was recently adopted. What are some action items the EDC can do to support these?
That's what's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, everything goes back to our strategic and comprehensive plans, so that most likely get mentioned. But I think a lot of the things that we're talking about will fit into these areas. So I'll send this in an email, tomorrow.
Thank you.
With like an updated list of kind of what we've talked about so far, where it fits in, and then things that have been accomplished already. Just so you guys have it for hip pocket information if something comes up.
I don't think I have anything else then. Yeah, I don't know if that kind of goes hand in hand with the joint session or if we need to go more into the website content.
I think it fits in. I just wanted y'all to know that I'm working on the website development, but I think this group would be a great group to work on for the Y Smithville. And then as we're developing information, y'all can review it. And then once I have it kind of more updated into a pretty document, then you guys can look at that as well to submit to the Board of Aldermen just for feedback. So,
Gina, one of the thoughts after this meeting that just occurred to me is that if we could have someone from the development department, whether that be Jack or Brandy, maybe present every, I don't know, 3 months is probably too much, but twice a year to our EDC. And, and then if there's something in between that you see is pertinent to share, I just think it'd be great to say, hey, here's what's happened the first 6 months. Here's what we think's coming down the pipe. And then I think that give all of us a better idea. I mean, it's public. You can see that during the planning and zoning, but sometimes that's several months of planning and zoning. So
mhm.
maybe just a high overview. Not that I want to add additional staff time, but just it would
Could
certainly
even be a report and
Yeah.
Jack and I can go over it and I can always include it and go over the.
I just think it'd be a
information.
great idea, because what I'm hearing is a lot of questions is what's here with it, and I get it. The only reason I kind of hear about it is, one, I'm in the business of real estate and development, but two, because I'm on the Board of Aldermen and I see a lot of things come across. And I don't attend planning and zoning, but I always try to watch the Zooms after and look at the notes and stuff, because I want to know. Generally, it's on our, if it's been approved by the planning and zoning, it's on our agenda the following week.
I mean, the reality is it's really hard to sit through every planning and zoning meeting. So the majority of citizens are not going to do it. So maybe like what you're saying, like a summary,
Mhm.
you know, twice a year, a summary of what has been discussed, like the important stuff, not that someone's got a setback for a shed, but like the big ones.
Big
Yeah, the
items.
big items that are being developed through planning and zoning. That way, just we don't have to torture people to have them
Mm.
watch planning and zoning meetings, because they are a bit dry.
Right.
They are a
And
bit dry.
upcoming items, like we talked about the ADUs, it's gonna be coming to the planning and zoning before the end of the year. So that's just things that you guys can be kind of more aware of. I think that's a good idea.
I'd like to see a written report quarterly and then face to face every 6 months. That's not too much to ask.
No. Can talk to Jack when he's back from vacation.
Let them know what want the highest level. All the minutia of every residential.
I don't want minutia, but I don't want it so high level. I can't get my teeth into it.
No, but maybe like, are you thinking subdivisions, commercial properties, like not individual residential lots, but maybe
No.
subdivisions that have more than 20, like, you know what I mean? Like what you might want to let them know
Well, I'm
what
not
you're
so
looking for.
interested in the residential as I am the commercial.
Oh, well, then there you go. Then let them know that you just want the commercial.
I mean, that's
Stuff.
my bias is what's going on in the commercial side.
Yeah. But in planning and zoning, they do residential and commercial. So
Yeah.
if you want to report, you just want to let Gina know the
Well, I'm going
specifics
back
of
to
what you're looking
Dan's
for.
comment, though, about Jack or the other person you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah,
be
Brandy coming
Jack.
every 6 months and a quarterly report would be helpful.
I can talk to him about it when he gets back from vacation. And probably big residential would probably be included in the report just because that's would be a big, if something like that would be coming on, it'd be good to be aware of.
Still economic growth.
Mhm.
Subdivision, you got contractors, plumbers, electricians.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
Versus someone who's building a lot.
Mhm.
you probably don't hear about that. but-
Right. Yeah, and the biggest thing that's hard for the city to keep track of is the sales, because sometimes I'll get a text from Alicia that someone's selling something downtown before I even know about it. So we're not notified every time something goes on the market. So that's just a little bit more difficult for us to keep track on, just because we're only notified if something's being built or someone's, we'll find out if they have a new utility account. That's the kind of things that we find out about for sales.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
I just encourage all of you too, just to talk to, be friendly and not drill businesses, but every time I'm in a business, I'm one, how are you doing? You know, right? Because it's a grind sometimes for our business people, right? Entrepreneurs. That's the most important part. How are you doing? How's your health, your well-being? And then just, hey, how's business going? What's your challenges? You're gonna find out a lot if you get to drill down to the personal level of that individual. And I think about a series of things, but I think we're all decent human beings and are excited as an EDC when something new. Alicia mentioned it earlier, Jonathan Justice, where he's working with Gizmos, and I know it's a short term, but he's working to develop their menu. He's consulting. That's huge, and that operator, as I shared before, is operates a very successful business at Lake of the Ozarks, and I think there are two different places. We're not Lake of the Ozarks, but we certainly hope and want to see them succeed.
It's changed a few times just
Yeah.
because of random construction delays, but I know they're hoping by the end of the summer.
Okay.
So that's all I know. Oh, do we want to move on to new business? I don't have anything to add, so. Anybody have any new business? No? Do we want to make a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 We're adjourned. Thank you.